We are live and direct. Wow, what a great opportunity today to be live with our folks, fans, subscribers, followers all over the world. Welcome to If You Asked Jimmy. I'm really excited today because we are hosting a man of timber and caliber and a man of great repute. It's a privilege and my wondrous honor to have in the house today. Doctor, is my help getting too much?
No, I'm okay. I'm okay.
All right, so it's not a hype, guys. When you hear the profile of my guest today, you will understand why I have to celebrate him for being in our studios. As we are hosting no other person today than Dr. Adedayo Taiwo. Dr. Taiwo is a graduate of the College of Medicine, University of Lagos. Graduated way back 1997, is an alumni of the Trinity College, Dublin. Trinity, we'll call it in Nigeria, but because I'm in North America, Trinity, Doctor, Trinity
Yeah,
College, Dublin. University College Dublin as well, and is a member of the Royal College of Physicians of Ireland. Is an energetic, seasoned OBGYN expert with more than 2 decades in caring and the provision of evidence-based and modern women's health care in a passionate and pragmatic manner. He's a highly honored, he's highly involved in management of dynamics of labor and delivery, early pregnancy complications, as well as gynecological abnormalities. He's a seasoned advocate of health screening for malignancies and lifestyle modifications. His experience cut across Africa. He practiced in Nigeria and Gambia before. He practiced in Europe, UK, and Ireland, and in North America, that is Atlantic Canada, in the care of women. It promises to be an exciting one today. Welcome, Dr. Dayo Taiwo. Can you say hi to our viewers?
Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to have me on this program. JJ, as I always call you, I'm delighted for what you're doing, and it's an honor to partake in it as well. For our viewers,
Absolutely.
I hope we have a good session throughout the first and the second segment of the program.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you very much. So even if I wanted to hide our privacies by JJing me here, you're exposing me, but it's okay. Let's go there now. From your profile, I read that I was smiling to myself. I'm not going to be mischievous about this, but there's a clause I saw that in the care of women, you are a seasoned OBGYN expert. Can you tell us about what you really do as a medical doctor? And how long have you been practicing? You graduated since 1997. 97 to date is getting close to how many years now? Almost 30 years?
Yeah, almost 27 years thereabouts,
So
if I'm
what do
not
you really
mistaken.
do in your practice, medical practice?
After graduating from the College of Medicine, University of Lagos, Greater Caucasus, I did progress to Gambia for start. Primarily, I had a GP session, family medicine in Nigeria before moving out to Gambia. And Gambia was the beginning of my obstetrics input. I probably say I nursed the passion of doing obstetrics and gynecology for a number of reasons. I don't want to go into emotional aspect of it, but the idea of saying I want to save another person's death is what really kept me into obstetric and gynecology. My mom died 4 months apparently when I qualified, and I
Wow.
probably think it's more of
Sorry about that.
I won't go into the nitty gritty of that, but looking back at it, having practiced in North America, you could probably say it's negligence. So going into that, that's what has driven me into the practice of obstetric and gynecology. And apart from that, it's one of my best courses in the medical school. And it's pretty straightforward. It's demanding, but they're good. You know, the good sides of it is really overwhelming. The beauty of delivery, seeing the pregnant women, beautiful ladies solving their abnormal problems such as abnormal bleeding, chronic pelvic pain, heavy menstrual bleeding. The arsenal of cases are, endless. And then the beauty and dynamics of delivery and labor and delivery. You're just happy that you're in that profession. Looking back, you probably say, "Oh, what else will I have done?" Maybe we get into that over time as the course
Wow.
progresses. So I would probably say it again. It was an inborn or innate passion to go into obstetrics and gynecology.
Wow. Doctor did it for us. Tell me that aspect you said that you probably go into it later. We have just go into it. Let's learn from your experience, sir.
Okay, I say we pretty much went into the same secondary school, and I'll probably say from there that in secondary school I was the Greek prefect.
Ooh,
A Greek prefect, and I did like farming. And that
right.
was what I had in my mind. But fortunately for me, I probably say my aunt, I will always give kudos to her. She's still a living person, Mrs. Olayefun. The husband who told me, listen, it's either medicine or nothing. It's a strict, it was an order, a command, medicine
Wow.
or nothing. So, and I mean, we are in a different world these days. We can't dictate that to our kids or our children. And I've
Right.
been told that, and you know how competitive things are in Nigeria.
Absolutely.
I probably say it's multifactorial in how I got into medicine ultimately. But I think it's a path that God has really, willed and destined me to be in. So I'm grateful for that, and I'm doing my bits and pieces in the care of women. People will probably say, okay, why did you go into women? Is it because they're beautiful? Men are also handsome. But I mean, it's something I just cherish naturally. And each time I do the job, people look at you. Why have you chosen this job? I said, somebody has to do it.
Hmm.
So I'm in it, and we're doing fine. And God has been faithful and pretty good to us.
Amazing. Doctor, you really hacked it because, even though it's your professional practice, when it is women and you are a man, that gender thing, people will want to pick on you on that, but you have actually, nailed it very, very succinctly. And just so our viewers know, now that Doctor has exposed our background together, we have come a long way. We went to high school together way back almost like 40-ish years ago. And am I exaggerating? Like maybe 30 something, 38, thereabout.
Close to that, 1988, close to that.
Yeah, so yeah,
86, 88, yeah.
yeah, maybe 37, 38 years ago. And if your uncle commanded, you see, if your uncle had commanded you to actually go into medicine, you know, apart from you being obedient, the fact is that you had the capacity. You are, the A list of our students then, at least you are the brightest and the best. So, I mean,
I'll say
nobody command
don't praise me too much. I'm one
A
of the
list
bad.
now, D1, A list. A list means that you still have some people on the list, but you know that, of course, you were top ranging. So what I meant by that is that I wish my uncle has commanded had commanded me to do mercy. It would have frustrated me completely, But because you had
Yeah,
the capacity, you remember I was a science student. And it was
yeah.
just the final classes that I migrated to something different. I ended up in business today. So I celebrate the fact that you had the capacity to be a doctor and you are doing it to help humanity with all of the other reasons that got you into medicine. That's so much for talking about your career and the background of it. When you look, let's start from your professional practice in my other questions. How will you compare ancient and modern medical practice? I will talk about the orthodox first, but there's an opportunity I seize when I bring people to this program. There was a medical doctor who is also a pathologist, and parasitologist, a professor who was on this program last week, and we're able to gain from him, ancient and modern practice. So, but first, practice of medicine, orthodoxy right now, today and before. Is it the same in these days of computer, the days of AI and everything? How is it now and when compared to when you started off in the late 90s?
Okay. If you say ancient, I'd probably say when I started, it wasn't that ancient, though it's pretty almost my training was about almost 3 decades ago. So, but if we go into real ancient times and for looking at that word, ancient practice was pretty much usually using herbal, natural, medicine into making things, where most of what we do recently, maybe pharmacological medicine, are really evidence based. Those were just natural things. And there's still
Okay.
some people still believe in this. But if we go into the context of what we do and what we've trained in lately, anything you do must be scientific, research based, evidence. We are governed or guided by what we call guidelines. There are things that people have researched on. You can't just put out a drug now without the drug going through some level of testing, level of phases of testing, A, B, C, D, and probably you say, okay, this before it's put into circulation.
So
Ordinary paracetamol, you know.
uh compared to when you graduated from med school and now,
Mhm.
is it still the same?
Things are changing, but not overtly changing. It's like we probably say things are getting modernized, things are getting more scientific. People look into things. Patients even are aware of what they want. Before a patient comes to you, he or she has read about you. He knows what you're doing. He knows whether you're a patient person. So there's much more of awareness than
Okay.
communications again. So, and it now depends on the divide you're practicing. Are you in the Western or the developing world? Everyone has its pros and cons and the level of awareness. In the Western world, patients will ask you what they need to ask you. The 4W is, why are you doing this? When do you want to do this? What's the reason behind it? What are my options? But from where we are coming, that also exists, but the fear of our physicians is so huge back in Africa that people feel they always rate doctors to, if I may use the word, small g, small god. But
Mm,
over here, you will be see your colleagues, you relate with them freely. You discuss on the corridor. It doesn't need to be on the office. You'll be seeing your colleagues or your professor riding a bike or you in the bus stop, and you could initiate discussions around certain things. And if he's obliged to, he will discuss, but it will be freely. You're not worshiping them. You're not exalting them. You feel free to discuss things. So,
normal
I think that,
conversations.
yeah,
Right.
solid one-on-one and robust conversations. Yeah.
Yeah, way back in Nigeria, people used to say something like laptop doctors because it got to a point in time where people will consult over the phone. And sometimes when you're consulting with some doctors, even in the course of treatment, they start referring to laptops. And it looks like a derogatory thing, like it's like they are not really prepared, they don't know what they are doing. Have you had that terminology, laptop doctors, and how does it really play?
I'll tell you what is going on recently now. I use this word, no man is an island. You can't know it all.
Right.
Okay. And when you are lost and when you need to make reference, it's a teamwork. Together, everybody achieves much.
No,
And
TA.
again, even when people look at you that you know it all,
Hmm.
we are in a profession that is very litigious. If you look at the field that is even most litigious, radiology, surgery, obstetrics, virtually every field is litigious, but you want to be cautious of what you're doing, what you're writing, what you make decisions because a lot is entrusted upon you. So, and you don't want to make it. Now we do what we call telemedicine. The advent of COVID brought a lot of things. And one of it was you can do things remotely, though you can't examine remotely in my own profession, but you can do some consultation to speed up or to be up to speed with the number of consultations we do. Most of these days, you think of one stop consultation. We want to see patients do pretty much everything under one stop or two. Not that you're lagging
So you're
behind or
saying that there
flapping
is
around.
nothing wrong with consulting digitally. I mean, like going online to look up some things. It doesn't mean the doctor is not prepared. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, you can make references, you can consult colleagues, but everything still rests within you to make a summary and a care plan for the patient and say, okay, This is what I'm
Okay.
telling you.
So
And this
because
is it. It doesn't
of
demean you, it doesn't demote you, and it doesn't make you to be short of knowledge or improperly trained making such things while dealing with a patient. But it's not most often, most of the time. It's probably a few times you could do that, you know.
all right. So because it looks like to us way back where we see that happen in Nigeria is like to us, it's like maybe the person is not prepared or being incompetent. Thank you for clarifying that for us. So let us take the two sides of things. Like we were original, we are Africans, right? And we
Yeah.
had our own means of, healing and how will I put it now? Taking care of ourselves, the medical part of it. Now, many people believe because of modernity, they talk down on things that are African, that are original to us, and it looks as if the only option for us, we are only left, we are stuck with the Western medical practice. What will you say about that? Is it that everything that is ours, there's no value to them, or they are not potent, they are not effective, and our methods, let me not even talk of methods. What would you say about the Africa, being an African yourself in Nigeria? What would you say, what's your experience, with what is ours and, Western medicine? Is it that we didn't have anything good about our own?
The type of training I had, I'll make reference to that. The type of training I had toward the tail end of my final year, we did a lot of consultation on what is non-typically Western world white collar up medicine, and it's in order to make our training comprehensive and a good package. We had to go to what we call herbal medicine, herbal, I know how you call them, you know. We had to make some exchanges with them and see what they do in their practices and how we improve them. So, and we made it a few bits of correction here and there to them, but that was an idea for us to see how medicine goes, you know. Now, regarding what we do, there are changes in how things are done now. And I've said that earlier, medications, things that are natural, they might not be dose weighted, but at the end, the current medicine we're practicing, if you're talking pharmacology, if you're talking uh, technology, you want to see evidence of what you want to do. You want to quantify what you are giving in terms of medication, and that's what makes the difference. So, what we are trained back in Africa, we don't need to ignore them. Things go scientific and in special order. I mean, in a stepwise approach. So that's what I probably think. If I get your question right.
You really did. We can expatiate on it. That growing up, do you have experience or um, anyway, you practice most of your time outside the country. So
Yeah.
I would have asked, but I'll still ask that does it, you said you also went into to see what was going on the other side.
Yeah.
Were they providing solutions, even though you taught them maybe sterilizing and some other kind of things that make their practice safer, right?
Yeah.
Dosage and
Yeah.
other things. What is your own take on our trado, let's put it that way, our traditional medicine, our native intelligence as a people? Did we have solutions that were working for us before modernity set in?
I'll tell you in fairness that the current medicine we practice is a huge and far advancement in what is obtainable in the local setting. In low resource setting, people end up going there because of cost, finances, awareness, and you see the height of I'll talk in my field, mortality, morbidity tends to be hugely high in those settings. Unlike now, if something where I practice both in Ireland and Canada, if someone dies, a lot of things will go on.
Hmm.
There will be panels that will raised, even morbidities, a lot of meetings. Those are the academic. We still do that in Nigeria as well. And that's what makes the difference. You can't expect someone who is a herbal, doctor to be into context of doing all this. He wants to maximize his cost. He wants to do some other things. And they've tried. I said a scenario. You talk about breach. They will try their luck in delivering. You don't know the weight of the baby. You don't know how the baby is going to get stuck. Advantage of practice lately, you just go in there. Oh, it's a primate. I'm going to section this. 20 minutes, baby is in and out. And that's it.
All right.
And it doesn't mean you can't have 4 or 5 children in such ways. You can.
Wow, awesome. I think that you are able to answer my questions based on more on your specialization. And it is
Yeah.
fully understandable because there are other maladies that could be remedied differently. And it could be a different experience with different practice areas. But in your own domain, of course, it is fully understandable that modern practices will really help because this is women's care, childbirth, and all of those kind of things. And definitely, it's unarguably technology and modern practices would definitely make women safer and make deliveries easier and mortality rate as low as possible. So let me pivot this conversation into, I don't know if you feel comfortable talking about parenting, because from birth, definitely you have to nurture, from nature to
Yeah.
nurture. So you have been many years ago, I think like how many years now? 2014. That's 11
Yeah.
years. I visited you out there in, let me make this joke. You know, when I got to the to Ireland to visit you and another friend, um, when I got to the border control, they asked me where I was going. Typical Nigeria. That time I had not moved to America, so my pronunciation was just anyway. So I said Hasebri, Hasebri. So when I got to your place, I don't know how that conversation happened. I think I went to visit our friend in, we went to visit our friend in Selbridge. And when we were coming back, I now mentioned that when are we going to your place in Hasebri? You looked at me like, oh my gosh. So when they were checking you in, what did you say? I said, Hasebri now. You remember that joke? You are so tired of me that Johnson, it is Hazelbury. So, and it was your son, if I remember very well. Nigeria, we used to say water, water. Georgie was the one that said, oh,
Wow.
water. Water. You remember I would go to school to pick him up with you where we stroke to desk. Water, water. I'd be like, where is the tea? Where is the tea inside this thing? You know, yeah. So I said that to say this, that you have been a parent of very great children. I believe your wonderful teenagers, then they are grown-ups, in their 20s. How is it parenting? At least you were parented in Africa. How is it parenting abroad? You've been in this business for over 20 years and, compared to Africa. Tell me about it.
First and foremost, I say I thank God for being blessed with boys and girls,
Right.
a boy and 2 girls. They've been good children for starters, and I'll probably say it. The type of parenting we had in Nigeria was very meaningful. I'll probably say that we had some sort of training that even when your parents wink at you, you know what it means.
That's true.
They don't need to speak. It's not a discipline. It's not a tough disciplinarian form of training, but it was comprehensive. And when you look back now, there are two ends of the divide. Even you can be in Nigeria and still nurture your children pretty much well. Tick all the boxes. Moral value, etiquette, everything that you need. Respect. I've moved with some people maybe from other parts of Nigeria, the eastern part of Nigeria, and they tell you, I'm from the western part. They tell you when they see someone from the western part, their respect is their own. They can't address their parents by their name. They can't, they always bow. So even if you're abroad, that is what we call you have some Nigerianness in your house. And it goes
Mhm.
a long way. Not all parents will be harsh or strict, but one has to be tough than the other. One has to be in one way or the other. but it's always good for both of you to be on the same page. Now, I come to it. How do you train your parents, children?
Children.
Are they involved in household chores, chores? Are they, are they? You take a lot of things because it's so, and they have various stages when they're growing up, when they're walking, adolescent age, teenage years, and before they become youth ultimately. So whatever you impact, you get to an age that you realize you can't put in much, but it doesn't make a difference between your own age and their age. You always be their father, even when they become children, they start having their own children.
Hmm.
We have sort of children now that we have to why, why. You have to. You go into discussion with them. You might have your principle, your precept, your standard at home, but they want to know things. And these are the type of children we have now.
Wow.
In
So,
our own time, I was dictated to medicine or nothing,
hmm,
and I obliged. People will tell you that I don't need to. I might do artificial intelligence or do cyber security. I might do music, and I still make it. The ultimate is what comes into my box or account. And then you reach an account. We were from the generation where it's either medicine, law, all those things that are my parents' perspective was, oh, you have a building, set up an hospital, all those things. But when you look at it now, everything you do, your quality of life is important now. In as much
absolutely.
as we still have the passion to say, okay, you're still pretty much involved. I want them to do this. I want them to do this. It's not dictating for them now. So
Wow.
raising up children, it's a lot of things. We are in an environment that is a bit freer, but if you want to do them good, or if you felt you've been raised up and you've had positive impacts, you want to let them have the same thing. But
Absolutely.
you might modify it. As the
Absolutely.
Bible says, moderation in everything, but give
Right.
them good discipline.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. That is the scripture that says, let your moderation be known unto all men. All right, thank you. Doc, I will still dwell on that area a little bit. You're letting us know there's a balance, even though people think that African parents are hard-handed. Your opinion is that, yes, they could be strict and sometimes fiscal with us, corporal punishment. But what we had growing up was comprehensive training. There was gestural communication. There was tactile communication. There was non-verbal communications between our parent and us. There was a synergy. We synced very well. We really understand when they just make moves, they do not have to say things. Thank you very much for that. But, you've been parenting in diaspora for over 20 something years right now. And if you look at let me call it the terms and conditions or rules of engagement abroad, the scenario is different, though you have answered in a different way. But the fact that, the parenting style, I have had in this our own side government taking people's children away from them, the social service for certain reasons, you know, just because of some probably negligence on the part of the parents or the child calls up so can you share some of the experiences of that distinctively different, divides of parenting here? Because it's not just society, government is involved, right?
Mhm.
You must have seen or heard one or two areas where things went to the extreme. Can you share some of those with us?
I'll start from these saying, uh, when you're abroad, a lot of things might have taken you there. Were you invited? Were you economic migrants, social, academic? So a lot of circumstances determine how you get abroad. And in the course of your settling down, it's a stepwise approach. Are you properly documented? Do you
Hmm.
have a roof over your head? Eh, Do you have walk? Are you walking? Are both of you walking? And what stage of your development in terms of marriage, uh, one child,
Your
two children,
status, your
three,
status
So
matters.
when you're going there, so it boils down to having explained that, you see what we call social class also get involved. So it depends on which side of it you have. Having said this, and again, and this is no respect of whether you have a religious background, any religious background, you can be fitted into any of all these I've mentioned. So finding yourself in the early age or early stages, Are you struggling with work? So those are the things I tend to see. That's my own personal observation. That if you are in a higher social class, you might not be a victim of those. Unlike the other extreme, if you are in the lower social class and you are somehow
Really?
involved with the government, so it doesn't mean that you can't see isolated people in the higher social class and their children are being taken. So
Wow.
it's a blend. So
That's an eye
when you
opener.
that's my own personal. Most if you do a cohort or observational or experimental studies and say, okay, let's find out the number of people who have gotten this. So
That's an eye
you,
opener.
you you end up seeing that most people that end up either there are some financial issues, some social issues. You could see some isolated children that are, you know, have some
Wow.
personal problems and they are taken out of from the couples. Are they
Ah,
broken home? That's another uh,
kettle of
another
fish
issue
entirely.
entirely. Another issue entirely. So we just have to look at it's multifactorial and it has many dimensions into it.
Right.
Unfortunately, because we are just getting adapted into the Western culture, so we are. I mean, if you look at white people or white folks, their children that are probably we have what we call the gypsies or the traveler community. Most of them are the ones that get into such issues.
Thank
Foster
you.
care.
Thank you.
They have social issues going on.
Thank you, Doc.
If you observe them, yeah.
Thank you, Doc. Well, I appreciate that because it's like I'm even learning from your responses because I had thought that was just a standard for everybody, but I appreciate the fact that you're able to situate it for us. Our viewers are engaging us in the comments. Someone said, "Career fueled by passion." Kudos, Doctor. Another person, Buki Sumola, says, "Quite an eye-opener interview. Thanks, Doctor." I see another comment here from viewer Leke Olayefu. This is an insight into real parenting. Thank you, um, Mr. Leke. Thank you. This Buki sounds like a female name to me. Thank you, Buki. And thank you, John, for your contributions. You can put your questions in the chat as we are live in case there's something you want us to ask Dr. Adedayo Taiwo. We have him on set today, so we have to make equity of it. We have to maximize his presence. Doc, Japa and Japada, you are, you are my senior in diaspora. So, and I'm very passionate about Japada as a person because I'm a Japa by condition. Okay. So I used to tell people that my body is here, but my spirit is at home. But not many people appreciate that. They don't want to hear it. Some people said this is that's where they are. My language has filtered diaspora. This diaspora is where they are going to die, and everything. Everybody has a choice. But the point is this: what is your view on? Let us start from Japa, and you help me to just summarize it on Japa. The question on the lips of many Nigerians today is that things are not looking up; they are not getting better. Should people still Japa? Then I'll come back to the Japa side of it so that you can. What
I-
will you say
I'll,
to
I'll,
someone if he asks you today that they want to Japa? What will you say to them?
I'll, if someone is talking to me about, we know how Japa syndrome started. Yoruba word coined from mass emigration. We've
Right,
had generations that have traveled before, but not in exodus as we
right,
are having currently. And
right.
it's a number of things. It's sequely from poor leadership, corruption, bad governance, and we're looking into other aspects, security. And that security aspect, you can also start looking at, banditry, terrorism, and
Hmm.
kidnapping. If I
Right.
want to go home, my greatest fear of all the things I've said is that aspect of security.
Hmm.
Anybody coming from diaspora. You see many people that are in diaspora. If you're well paid and you have what we have in Nigeria, the climate, the food, the population. Now we have a youthful population. For someone who is an entrepreneur, they will get a lot from there. But that's another topic for another day. But let me tell you something. Jackba is a word of circumstance, and whoever is facing it, you'll be pushed to the wall. An average Nigerian in the scaling process, if your level of affluence out of 10 is 9, Your fear is that you don't want to drop to 3
That's
or 5
true.
so that you won't be able to take care of your thing.
That's
Cost
true.
of living. If you look at a country generally, you say, okay, standard of living, quality of life, cost of living, all those things, everybody is frightened, except you're probably paid in foreign currency.
Doctor,
And
will
it's
you
unless
tell them to come or not to come, or what would be your kind of advice for them in summary? I'm coming to you today. I'm not abroad, Uncle Dayo. I'm thinking of moving abroad and this kind of thing. To Japa or not to Japa?
I'll be 50-50. If you come, have the mind of coming back. I'm one of the proponents of going back home.
Hmm.
I strongly believe in it. But in the same vein, if you're coming in, are you coming to rebrand yourself from the brain, from your skills, or make your children benefit from the system? Because if you look at what is pushing some people, it's not only finance, it's education, it's
Wow.
security, it's quality of life. So, but for someone who is comfortable in Nigeria financially, you can't tick all those boxes.
Hmm.
So it's a bit difficult. But someone who is in the youthful young age, but you come here, it's not bed of roses. When you face racism, it's there. Your opportunities are there. You put in more effort as a colored person to get to the status of someone who is white.
All right. I will help you a little with another question, sir. You lived in Ireland for so many years before you relocated to, I mean, Canada, and you're still, touching both bases. There are a lot of people that went through the back of Africa right now to get to
Mhm,
Ireland those days. Some of them, they were on Aduro, that kind of a thing, asylees and all of those. And a lot of people into Europe, different parts of Europe, through North Africa and all of those kind of things, and through the which sea is that? Is that the Mediterranean Sea? You know,
mhm.
now those days are now. A lot of people go by flight now. What will you say, especially because our country has pushed a lot of people to desperation? You have mentioned people right now, probably who are doing okay in Nigeria. That's not always all about survival, but they just want a better environment for their children. But the average Nigerian that wants to japa is that person that thinks that the only hope is to leave that country, as if there's a magic when they get to where they are going, the problems are solved. What will you say to such people? Even those who have status and class in Nigeria, you know that no matter how much they save up, most of them will still end up, like you said, they have to reskill, they have to upskill, they have to rebrand. That's what you said, more like reinventing themselves, even for the best of the best. So what will you say to that average Nigerian who the conditions have pushed them to desperation? Because most people, when they come around here, they do not have that status to have work authorization or to go to school immediately. They have to go through a process. They usually start from the bottom of the ladder and they climb the way up. But to that Nigerian who the situation has made desperate right now, what will you be saying to those?
So for someone who is hell bent on traveling, it's a patient game. You have to retrain, you have to rebrand. Rome wasn't built in a day, and the journey of 1,000 miles starts with a step. So for someone who is trying to come, those are the things I probably tell them. How old are you? What are your immediate, intermediate, and long-term
Does it
plans?
matter the age, Dr. Dayo?
To some extent,
How? Break it down.
the, the younger you are, you have mileage in your arsenal. You still can make use of time. You have not, but if time, because as a much older person, you have bag and baggages to carry. You are not thinking for yourself. You are a family person.
Like
You are
what age
thinking for.
range?
I won't give specificity, but I probably say the older you are, somebody has to carry the burden of your soft landing before you make such move, or
Hmm.
you need to have done great homework. You have to be mentored, guided to cover those mileage, family size. Let's give it arbitrary figures. You're 52. You're just making planning. You have 4 children.
Hmm.
You know, good it is you're not going to be retired at 60. You have 80 years to achieve things. Is it worth it? Your kids will benefit really. But some will tell you, okay. So take it from another perspective. You could also see someone who is 25 and be illegal in the system for 15 years. So he has wasted 15 productive years and he now starts from 40. So if somebody is 52, 48, and they've really helped him or her in settling, but you can't be at that age and just be going in isolation. A lot of homework will have been done. What's your background? What field are you? Are you going to retrain? What sort of job do you want to pick up? The greatest thing when you get abroad is not what you eat, the roof you have over your head.
Hmm. Wow. Thank you very
So,
much, Doctor. Um,
okay.
Let me now ask, you said you are passionate about Japada.
Mhm.
I made a joke about someone who got to, it was actually America, and he told the host, this is heaven, no. You understand? And I have worked and related with people who feels like, people think that this abroad is a shine thing, like it's class. It is a kind of elevation. It's as if we and them, we versus them, that once you migrate and you are living in diaspora, maybe it makes people have this superiority complex, maybe because of the poverty in our country. Not knowing that most of the people here, if we look at first class, second class, or first rated or second rated citizens, even though no human being should be classified as such, they are at the bottom of the ladder. But because of our exchange rates, no matter your level here, when you go back home, the money makes sense. Other than that, I used to say not more than 10% of us, even though we are the most educated, it's just a small percentage of us. We are not even in the upper. The best most of us are, even professionals, we are still somewhere in the lower middle, not even in the middle. Because it's very difficult to see anyone among us that is earning, 8 digits, anything above $1 million or anything above £1 million. Even the best of us that we say are like professionals, maybe 6 figures annually, 100 and something, 200 and something of the currency where they are, so double 6 digits, which is like poverty of the worst poverty in Nigeria. What will you say concerning Japada, because our country is the way it is now? Are we going to be lost forever? You have worked with people, several of them, that think by saying that they don't want to go to that, we are all frustrated about Nigeria. The person that is not frustrated must have a lot of shock absorber more than all of us. But are we giving up on our country so bad that we came here? So someone like me, I'm an economic migrant. I have to be sincere about it. It was a situation of things. Some people, they came when they were younger, they studied, they love this place, they stayed. What is the future of our own land when our children are hearing that their parents are not going back? See what is happening in America today. People are getting deported, of course, for paperwork and other things. At best, we are still minorities. Minorities with the burden of being immigrants. Who is going to fix our country? Is it our parents? Because if we are uprooted, what's going to happen to our children? No place to call home. So people passionately hate Nigeria now, they are not just frustrated. And it's a kind of sophistication, a negative sophistication that is going on among our own generation. I'll talk about it, let's say, between the 40 to the 60, 65s, which that middle ages. Very crazy. Because people are not remembering that this thing is looking like 10, 15, 20 years. It's going to get to 50, 100, and we look back and we see the total disconnect. What is your own position on Japada personally and generally, finding ourselves where we are today, that our country has pushed us out? Somebody said Japada is not running, it is fleeing. It's not escaping, it's fleeing, running from problem. What will you say about that?
Before somebody jackpots, it has to be planned.
Planning.
Planning. But I'll tell you realities and practicalities because every night you sleep, you ponder over this. You've gone out. The time we left, there was no desperation. Options
Hmm.
were there. We left easily, effortlessly. Now, I'll tell you this. I always do this observation. I have only one. In Nigeria, we have three major ethnic groups, Hausa, Igbo, and Yorubas. I have only one Hausa friend. It
Wow.
speaks volume. All what we, the Westerners, does, we'll realize that maybe from where I come from, we constitute the highest proportion of travelers, despite that the Easterners also travel and business minded.
Hmm.
Nigeria today, you'll see the Northerners, they feel some Nigerians wealth there. They
Hmm.
don't travel. If you come there, they get themselves educated, there's positions for them. So it shows that just like the animal kingdom, not all animals are equal.
Some are more equal than
So
others.
exactly, that's a side. And I tell you another scenario. In Let's take Lagos as an example. Many people travel. It's many people's wishes that oh, if I travel, I just need that passport.
Hmm.
I don't want to come and be hustling. That's another level of thinking. If you have entrepreneurial skills, daily earnings, that Nigerian setting is enough for you to get what you want. But not all of us are there. I'm Somebody will tell you in obstetric and gynae because you love the job. Somebody has to do it. Some people don't have business acumen, and they. So it comes back to that question, Jack Pada. You've been here for 20 years. You are planning. You won't be able to go back until you're sort out like your last child.
Hmm.
And when you came in at 30, you are now 50. Friends have changed. Some of your friends have left. So it's a lot of planning, and governance have changed. A lot of things have changed in the system. So it's a tough question to ask. I mean to answer really. But despite I wish and I know that you always desire because you want to plan for your time. Oh, you're 60,
Absolutely.
you're 65, you're 70. Where do you want to stay? Are
Wonderful.
your kids ready to go with you? Is it your planning alone? As you have to plan as a family.
Hmm. Amazing. Wow. Thank you, Doc. Um, Dr. Dayo, one of our viewers is asking a question here. Leke Olayefu says, what will be your advice to potential jackers considering the effects of our poor leadership engagements? What's your answer to that, Doc?
If you are in Nigeria and you can lay your hands on things that are productive, entrepreneurship, I still tell you, you might be better off.
Mm.
I mean, you might be better off. There is nowhere there is no corruption. The mindset of people abroad is that there's corruption everywhere. Those leaders just have the mindset of their country at hand, infrastructure.
Mm.
They have projections for their country. But for someone that says, okay, you could get abroad if you're not legitimate or legal in the system, you just be jumping from one. And it also depends on your background. A lot of things. Are you ready to retrain? Are you ready to what work is available? And just like I said, it's not the food that you want to eat. You talk of roof over your head. You talk of being properly connected. And you could be lucky. You start making millions or a lot of things in a short while. If you are properly connected, opportunities abound,
Mm.
both abroad and in Nigeria.
Mm. So it's the person has to think of it holistically. That's what you are saying.
Exactly.
Like,
If you're a family man, you have to settle everybody. You
hmm.
can't just be thinking of moving in batches. It takes a toll on you. And
Hmm.
before you know it, years have gone by.
Hmm. Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much, Doc. I will take us back to Africa because this program is very Africa-centric. I've told people, in the first place, you can see that that's what they say here. They say your tongue is strong. And I see that thing as an insult. I'm talking the way God created me. Somebody will say my tongue is strong. Okay, let me accept with them today, my tongue is strong.
You
If
have
I
an
try,
accent. That's what they will say.
yes, I'm coming there. if I am speaking like this, that's my own accent. Even the ones that think they are talking the way they are talking, that's their accent. I keep saying if I want to talk like them, I'm going to bite myself, and that will not be fine because I'm too old. They say you can't teach an old dog new tricks. So part of this thing is leading me to my question on colonial mentality, relegating our originality, demonizing everything that is original to us as Africans. What is your view on this? Or have you been so westernized that you can't connect with our roots again? That colonial mentality, what's your view on what that has done to us and how it has changed who we are and our space completely? I'm not talking of the fact that we cannot embrace modernization or modern technology, but that is things we see physical. But the mentality, are you
You
getting
see,
me? And in our own uh, setting in Africa, what's your opinion on that?
I'll relate this to Nigeria. Going back to memory lane, we were colonized by the British.
Correct.
Yeah, and colonization brings the intent was to bring some form of civilization, Christianity, and trade, which probably people would say commerce.
Hmm.
Now, we see now that we've embraced that, how are we impacting it? I, for one, I'm not the type that would probably say, okay, let's look at it on common basis. Language, you've westernized, you start speaking English. That's one of the advantages of what we got from that. And probably in your house, you now say your children can't speak your native language. We are all victims of this. You just
Wow.
have no choice. Because if your kids can learn your language or know about your language, it goes a long way. So that's one of the things you don't want to sidetrack your own language at the expense of what you've learned from from colonization or westernization. Same thing, dressing. I recently saw Demola Lokman. If you're a sport fan addict, he came in to collect his
I was.
African best product, and he came in a native attire, which is a
Yeah,
great one. He could have come in suits.
absolutely. I
Yeah,
remember. I saw that too. I saw that too. Wow.
he could have come in suits. So at times you are in, well, you don't delegate or degenerate or put aside your own culture or whatever you've gained at the expense of westernization. You blend the two together
But
because
so,
that's the edge you have. It's only
okay.
when I traveled that's when I knew the value of myself as a Nigerian.
Tell us
We
about
go
it.
abroad. Yeah, I mean, each time I'm a proud Nigerian, and I always say it anywhere I go. My place of work, you see, and most especially, even the females, when you get to anywhere and you say this is a Nigerian, they want to know a lot of things. Are you married to a Nigerian? They were lot of many. The first thing they will tell you that one, we are the advocates of other Africans abroad. We speak for them. They know the confidence is there. Not only the confidence, the brain is there. You don't negotiate. When they give an African, maybe a Ghanaian, I'm sorry to have mentioned Ghanaian, other countries,
Right.
any amount of money in a deal or a job, a Nigerian will come out and negotiate what he or she knows he deserves, not out of desperation. They
Right.
know that we have it. They were most fields, health, technology, sports. I mean, look at our Nollywood. When I was in Gambia, that's when I valued our Nollywood. Each time
Hmm.
I work in the Royal Victoria Hospital, one of the biggest hospital over there,
Wow.
and I knew what I was earning was four times what I was earning in Nigeria.
Wow.
Live was there. I was we were using mobile phone there before, uh, and I wasn't using in Nigeria. So, but to tell you about things, people were looking at us as, what have you come to do in this country? Because they look at Nigeria as London.
Hmm. Wow.
That's in Africa, and that's how it cuts across the western axis of Africa. People
Yeah.
look at you, and when even you get abroad, the health system, Canada, West Africa, I mean, Canada, Ireland, most of our people are doing pretty well there. I'm not
Absolutely.
saying there are some other people drawing back in terms of
Right.
drugs,
Right.
corruption, few things, but you always have a few, red herrings or Judas among them.
Right. Wow. Very, very awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Dayo Taiwo. I want to ask also, being, well, this is not a diaspora question, but maybe there are some diaspora angles to it, or you can just take it globally. Social media, sir. What will you
Well,
say is the impacts of social media in our community today? Community being African community and being abroad, of course, you can see both sides of things. Um, You see, part of the reasons why I have this channel is there in the intro to my channel. I'm an independent commentator. Normally, Nigerians will say blogger, content creator, and everything. But you see, only a few people are into the kind of space what you and I are doing, trying to inspect our society and make sure that we evolve to be able to be competitive globally and also to create a better space for our children and for ourselves in older age. You see entertainment, which is part of life, very necessary. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. You will see skits, which is part of entertainment. You will see songs, and you will see nudity. You know what they said? SEX sells. You will see profanity in our space. You see, those things move fast. The algorithm of all the social media pushes it in millions to people. Some of these things, I wonder, why am I seeing this? Why am I seeing this? Maybe because I browse Nigerian contents. And when you look at the social media influence today, if it is not the backside, if it's not Yansh, if it is not Muriba, don't run, to be run, no, run, no, to be, very, very funny things, which also somehow people need a break from their serious work. I'm not saying those content, those ones have their place, but the dominance of such contents, this dominance of such conversations, the dominance of gossip, fracas, fighting, and everything, and a lot of things that social media pushes to us or push to us. What is your view on social media in our community, in our country space, and social media generally?
I'll start by saying that social media has come to stay. It
Absolutely.
has its, it has its pros and cons, and it depends on how you embrace it and put it into your lifestyle. If you go into the Western world, when do you start using like Facebook?
Hmm.
It's age related, Snapchat.
Hmm.
But these days now, if you don't monitor your children, they can have five Snapchat or social media hang that they can link into.
Hmm.
Now, this wasn't there maybe 40, 30, 20 years ago, but it's taken its huge acceptance, let's say the last 10, 15 years, and it has caused across all things. There are people feeding on it. It's brought about some form of employment, information, and there are some other negative or drawbacks of it. Addiction. I'll tell you a practical scenario. I had a friend of mine in Canada, and he lives in a big house. I think he has two boys and one girl, and everybody will be in their room. The only way he can seek their attention is if he goes into the what's it called, Wi-Fi, disrupt it, and everybody will come out. Oh, the internet has gone. Internet has gone. I said, yes, I want to see your face. I want to talk to you. It's a family house.
Wow.
Everybody is engaged with this.
Until you
You spend
disconnect the Wi-Fi, it doesn't get the attention.
it doesn't get their attention. You see, it's that's how far we've gone. Addiction,
Wow.
addiction. And
Wow.
at times, I too have to be corrected at home. At times, because I might be checking my emails, correspondence, but the thing is that you just sneak into it's not my. I have two phones, and one of my phones now, I purposely decided not to put Facebook on it because
You don't want to be distracted.
because you want to check messages. Okay, not even Facebook, WhatsApp. I just no. Let me stick with one because you want to check your messages. But if you discipline, it takes a lot of discipline.
Hmm.
Each time I see certain things about who scores the highest in JAM result or WIEC result, and I look at it, and one of the ones I read, was this child, maybe from Redeem or one church or so, the other. One of
People
the
are,
discipline that the father did was the testimony that guy gave, the girl or boy gave us. I don't have a phone for starters.
oh,
Let's talk of social media things. So
wow. So she
at
was able
what
to
age can you
focus.
control yourself? Yeah, when I talk to my own children, I said moderation in everything, moderation in everything. But
Um,
let me tell you something. When I was in Ireland, and some one of you have to sacrifice time or manage how you bring up during the upbringing of your children. And my wife was working, I was working, I work outside. And I think my first daughter wasn't up to 13 years. And she needed to have a phone for us to communicate on who picks
communicate.
them at school. Because you can't just, how will you pick, you drop your child at school at 8:30, you pick them at 2:30. What sort of work will allow you to do that if somebody doesn't sacrifice himself or herself, or you don't put in child minding? So those are the sacrifices people make abroad.
Hmm.
Because and now it comes to the context of, and then you could have some people that are 80 something year old and monitoring you from your window that, oh, there are children there
By
that are
themselves.
that are self that are not up to 13. You are reported, and it goes back to your question. Somebody that can pick up that child from you,
Right.
and
Because you are
people will tell you, what sort of money are you looking at when you can sacrifice one of you to look at these children?
hmm, to look after them.
So it comes in, it's either you pay heavily from your pocket, you invite somebody for a short period. So I was at work recently and I was looking at some people and their child is 1 or 2 years, and I flashed back and I laughed within myself. I said, "Oh,
Hmm.
why are you laughing?" And I was telling them how old my children are. I said, "I've been in your shoes. You have to do it." I said, "How many children have you?" I said, "Two." I said, "One more for the road." He said, "Most probably." I said, "Well, it's better
Wow.
you have all of them together and then see how you, somebody has to sacrifice."
Wow. Wow. Awesome. Wow, Doc, I'm learning a whole lot. One of our viewers here is saying, imagine having to switch off Wi-Fi to get attention. It's getting so bad. That's from one of our viewers. I really appreciate our viewers. Today's engagement is another level. Thanks for your contribution. It's really inspiring us out here. I'm looking at the analytics here, and this is an all-time high for our viewers. Doctor, you have been contributing to other countries. You contributed to the Gambia, you contributed to UK, to contributed to Ireland, you contributing to Canada, and you are being pulled in two directions, Canada and Ireland right now, which is in Europe, sir. What about Nigeria? Is Nigeria, what about two things right now? Let me ask about investments generally in Nigeria, in our economic space, and you as a person, um, because some people, as frustrated as they are that they left, they don't even want to have anything to do with Nigeria. Okay? So, with all your contributing to building other societies, what's your view about diasporans generally contributing to building Nigeria through investments and yourself? What's your view on investing in Nigeria? Um, yeah, let me leave it at that. So I hope
Okay.
you.
Yeah, I get the question. Based on your background, I'm in health. I think it would be a comfortable space if I want to go home to look at, oh, hospital mentality. You know, it depends, but I will factor it from many angles. My age, how will the society embrace it? A lot of things.
Hmm.
But lately, it's just like somebody will tell you, if you're going into Nigeria to do something, just avoid electricity, avoid oil, you will survive.
Wow.
So, I mean, that's another dimension. But you don't have to always do things from where you are. I, my late mom was an entrepreneur. So, and learn a lot from that. And I also have a friend who is not, he had a medical background, but he loves entrepreneurship. And he calls it, if I may use that word, owojo.
Hmm.
That means
Daily
what
pay.
will be bringing daily
Daily pay.
earnings for you rather than salary for you. He
Hmm.
always talks about this. And I look at it. For you coming abroad from diaspora back into Nigeria, what business can you do? You
Hmm.
look for something that is comfortable. I'll probably say my comfortable space, if I'm to advise people, everybody differs, maybe real estate. I looked at one of Alibaba's interview.
Yeah, yeah,
It
yeah.
was very inspiring to me. And real estate doesn't mean building a house for rentage. It could be
Hmm.
building a store. It could be having an event center. It could
Yeah,
be
like
having. It
you
could be having. It could be having an what's it called? A shopping mall.
utilities.
Exactly. What you just see, once you can't go home and manage yourself,
Hmm.
houses will appreciate. They won't depreciate. They can change in appearance and other things. But because the thing is that you're flying today, flying to tomorrow. Are you there to man the business yourself?
Yeah,
So people, part of real estate is land banking.
that is true. Doc, finish your thoughts then because I have a right to that question.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't want
So
to
I mean,
interrupt you. You talk about land banking, yeah?
those are things that are dealing with. You have land structures. There are huge investments that you can come in many dimensions. But some people can come in, okay, I want to go into things that I can monitor. If I'm abroad, I have things that are related to, I can bring in cars and sell them. Am I going to wait to sell them? You can't just get the market immediately. Some people go into that. But the list seems endless. I go back into this again. If I'm going home to retire, or somebody is going home to retire, don't let me use myself. And it has an interest in uh, agriculture, poultry, farming. You can do that, but the risk is also there. Animals can
Right.
die, poultry can die,
Anything
but
can
you have the
happen.
space, you have the manpower. You're also fearing that if you are somewhere around there, or your town, somebody can come and do banditry on you or
Anything
kidnapping.
can happen. I will have to accelerate this interview because I still have a couple of questions. Thank you. I'm really
Okay.
learning. But Doc, this thing you are recommending is so on point. At the same time, I'd like to open the conversation to let you on this, to let you also see the fact that, especially investment in real estate, that's what most of the diasporas are doing recently because a lot of people have tried businesses in the past, a lot of people have tried other things, and they have gotten their fingers burnt, especially these car things, shipping containers abroad and everything, and they will just see they can't even recover the capital, not to talk of everything. But as good as real estate is, even people in Nigeria, because of the insincerity in our system, it has been so difficult for a lot of people to put it together. In fact, it is making some people to be, how will I put it now, dented in a way. I mean that losing it all because a lot of people have, been caught up in
Spirituals.
scams because there are a lot of real estate companies right there. They will do a lot of packaging, do a lot of videos, do a lot of stuff, put it out there, hype it, and there are a lot of diasporas now that got ended up with substandard houses. They have to rebuild all over or to re-equip all over again. A lot of them, their monies are stuck. They have made some payment to some point. Inflation has come up as inflation happened at a rate nobody expected. The economy degenerated, and some of those properties are not even delivered. Some of them, a lot of things are happening. Some of them are they bought flats in some of these kind of you know um multi-purpose homes, all those kind of things, or those high rises, different things. So it's not even so easy, even though it looks safer, because it can be a passive income investment and you don't have to watch over it every day like doing trading or buying and selling. Are you aware that a lot of diasporas have gotten their fingers burnt in that aspect? And it could
Yeah,
now be
yes, yes, I agree with you. I mean, I'm just using that as an example.
okay.
I mean, it doesn't have to be that.
Oh,
There
yeah,
are other things that everybody in diaspora that has the idea of going home is look at, okay, I've spent 25 years, I've spent 30 years. I'm not used to the system. Before you embark on such, you want to get attuned to the system. You want to study the system. You want location, everything, anything that you do in mind.
fantastic.
I used to have a friend, and he's still one of my friends, and I keep on telling me, I said, your background is into health. I said, your market is always there. It's a free space. Go, if you go back home, I mean, I'm not wishing people. People will have things that are related to health issues,
Right.
and you don't need a big space.
Absolutely.
It precisely is into physical therapy. So
Right.
people will come. People will come.
Right.
If you retire early, go home. Physical therapy, either chronic back pain, CVA patients,
Yeah.
one thing, an incontinence patient, uh, pelvic surgeries, you're recovering them. You
All
don't
of
need
this.
space.
All of
You just
this.
retire. And I mean, at that retirement, 60 is the official age of retirement. But abroad, you might work 65, 70,
Right.
and you're
Right.
putting in 1 or 2 days of job. It's your passion. You've learned it. You just do it softly.
I totally agree with you, Doc. I'm not debunking the real estate thing. Funny enough, despite all the challenges, it is still the most go-to business. It is still the most practicable, realistically monitorable compared to any others, right? So I'm just saying that, okay, I'm just buttressing it that some people might feel frustrated. I think if they have people they can trust that can handle stuff for them and they are very big on documentation and they do their homework very well, it can be safer because the trust quotient is very, very low in our society. I'll chip in 2 questions and I'll please help me see how you can answer this 2 or 3, and then we round off. We just have 5 minutes more on this program. My doc, sir,
Mhm.
what advice would you give to your younger self if you had opportunity to be 25 all over again? And what advice would you give to your younger self? If you look back now, what could you have done differently? Sorry, that's
Well,
it. I hit you below the belt.
I mean, if I'll put it into segments. In terms of career, I don't think I got it wrong going into women's health.
Okay.
The other the other thing that I would have done, I wouldn't have looked at a career that is hospital dependent.
Oh,
I would have done into things into like dental services. You need small staff and you can get along.
absolutely.
Physiotherapy services, small staff and you can get along
By yourself. Yeah.
by yourself. That if I'm still looking in that, but I was pretty much okay with women's health. Just
Fantastic.
like any medical field, you like it.
Fantastic.
Secondly, I would have stayed in the remit of farming, agriculture.
Your
Am I
passion.
brave? Yeah, it was a passion. I knew when I was young, I was rearing rabbits. I did poultry for
Yeah.
my aunt.
I just said you
I,
that
I
time
love,
way back, those
yeah,
days. That's
I just love that thing. Apart from being an agri prefect, I love uh, plants, animals. So I would have, I don't know whether, I mean, whether it would have worked well, but if God had really said that's my field, I would have gone into it. I love it.
awesome. Thank you, Doc. Before we round off, let me ask you these questions. What will you be saying to Nigerians home and abroad? You have 2 questions in 1.5 minutes. Nigerians home and Nigeria professionals home and abroad. And the last question is there hope for Nigeria?
I'll start with the second one. You have to be optimistic. There should be hope. Nobody wants to condemn his country. Uh, Thankfully, if you look at the current uh, President bolahmedtinubu's slogan, renewed hope. So
Hmm,
there's hope for Nigeria. And Nigeria was seemingly like a dead horse, and you're not trying to rejuvenate it.
hmm.
There's fracture, a lot of things, and they're trying to bring it back. They're not a lot of things being brought back into place. Subsidy, a lot of reforms. It takes and our people they don't want change. They want a quick fix. So that's the second aspect. The first one you mentioned for diasporas, for professionals abroad, it's just brought back from the Japa syndrome, brain drain. People have found a bit of comfort abroad. To say your home is where you have a peace of mind and peace. So, but it's in phases. It's 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. It's not start dawning on you. Am I going back home or not?
Hmm.
People are making wishes. You tell your children they are not likely to go home. Bury me where I die. They said that. But if you think of Nigeria as a likely place, you have to be making instrumental visits.
Right. Finally, Doc, what will you be your closing comments on this program, sir?
Well, I think it's a well, I don't have any affiliations to anybody, so I've spoken essentially not only from my background, from my experience, and in trying to advise people. I'm also someone I love mentoring youths, guiding them. Each time I see them, one of my quick questions is, how do you see yourself in 10 years? If
Mm.
somebody jumps into that question and said, no, you're wrong. Before 10 years, what's your immediate, intermediate, and long term?
Of
Always have that plan. Time
wow.
moves fast. It is 3-1 to 8. There's time for everything. And it moves fast. It moves fast.
Absolutely. Wow, what a beautiful way to end it there. Thank you, Dr. Adedayo Taiwo. We had the privilege of hosting this doctor who graduated in 1997 from University of Lagos, an alumni of Trinity College Dublin, University College Dublin, and member of the Royal College of Physicians of Ireland. Doc, let me give you 15 seconds. How do you navigate Canada and Ireland?
Well, Canada is my home. I still do some few things in Ireland. So, and Canada is, I've also practiced there. So, I mean, it's pretty much home, and that's how things are. I spent almost 13 years in Ireland, and spent almost 9-10 years in Canada at the moment.
Wow. Thank you, our viewers. That's Dr. Adedayo Taiwo. Before ending this, I cannot end this program without thanking those who are giving us technical support on the background, OMS Consulting, who are into the media management space from end to end, from beginning to the end. They are the ones that are helping me with all of this. I have my daytime job, but they make this possible. OMS will flash their number on the screen. They support me in the background to make sure that the content goes out there. Thank you, Doc, for honoring our invitation, and we hope that when we invite you in future, you will oblige us to unpack more things for us and help our community, sir.
Thanks. It's a pleasure, and it's an opportunity to be on this program. I will always be delighted to come back when you need me again. Thanks very much.
Absolutely. Thank you, viewers. And that's where we wrap it up on this edition live interview with Dr. Adedayo Taiwo, an energetic seasoned OBGYN expert, and also someone who has practiced in the Gambia, Europe, and North America, taking care of women. Thank you, and see you on the next one.